Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Eric Lamar, your host of the Entrepreneur's Voice Show. Tonight, we're going to be talking about something that's going to change your life. I'll just put it that way. I have to pause because we're dealing with the 4 secrets and the 4 steps to improving your credit. Now, why is this such an important topic? This is important because if you have experienced having to pay higher interest rates when you go to buy a car, higher interest rates on a credit card, paying higher payments on your insurance, higher payments on a mortgage loan, you've been affected by the ramifications of having damaged credit. Well, all is not lost. Tonight, my host on our show is Mr. William Crowley, who is the founder and CEO of National Credit Restoration. And if you're on Facebook, you can go and like the page, Bad Credit History Repaired. Now, you're watching this inside of your Facebook device, on your phone, or on your computer. And what I'd encourage you to do is please take a look at right up above. There's a share button. Share this information out. Invite your friends to come and take a listen to what we're talking about. Also, down below, there's a comment stream. If you have questions, please ask your questions and we'll address those. So sit back, get ready to learn. And tonight we're going to dive right into it. And so I want to introduce you to our guest that's on the show tonight with me, and that's Mr. William Crowley. William, how's it going, my friend?
Doing good, man. Doing good, and glad to be back.
Glad to be back. Glad to have you back. What's been some positive things that's been going on in the financial world?
Well, the main thing is what we talk about on the radio show that I do is that the identity theft is going out the roof, people's information, security breaches, etc. So I want to share a number with you all tonight as well, those who are out there listening. Everybody should have a promotional block on their credit report, everybody. And if you don't, then you should get one on. It's a free service, and the credit reporting agency won't even advertise this type of information. So put a promotional block on your credit report. I can go and get the number now, I guess.
Okay.
Those of you out there, listen, the number is 888-567-8688. 888-567-8688. Put a promotional block on your credit report. It's kind of similar to any type of other promotional block, like with Department of Motor Vehicles, etc. We encourage people to do it indefinitely or for 5 years, whichever option they allow you to take. Do it, and if you do it for 5 years, be sure to go in and renew it every 5 years. What the promotional block does is prevents the credit reporting agency from marketing your information. And as I mentioned earlier, identity theft is one of the biggest problems, but what most people don't know is that the credit reporting agencies are the biggest promoter of identity theft. When they should be the watchdogs of our credit reports, they're actually the ones that are giving our credit reports indiscriminately out to anybody. They don't check the character or anything. As long as the amount of money is right, they'll do it.
Wow, that's a good tip. So I really appreciate you sharing that with us. We're going to dive right into it and talk about this situation with the credit reports and so forth. Now, your company, National Credit Restoration, you guys have been around in business doing this type of work for clients for how long?
16 years, going on 17 years. And we like to say National Credit Restoration Assistance because we want our clients involved in the process.
Why is being involved such a key element for the success that you've had for your clients?
Because we want to take out the mystery of how credit repair really works. We don't have some type of secret, exclusive computer search program. What we're actually doing is using the Fair Credit Reporting Act, which is public information, and we encourage people to go look at the Fair Credit Reporting Act for themselves. So what we do, I say that we're glorified secretaries. It's not anything that most people can't do, but with the experience that we have, we'll definitely be able to do it better than anybody out there. So when you're doing this, we're giving you all the information. Okay, there's no closed doors, no secrets to this or anything. So the reason why we call it National Credit Restoration Assistance as opposed to credit repair is because everything is open here. You're going to see every step of the way. You're going to be involved in it as well. Not to the point where you think you're doing all the paperwork. We do all the paperwork. We send it to our clients. Then the client just signs it and sends it off. But we encourage the clients to keep copies as well.
Okay, so let's talk about the steps that a person must take, because we've identified the problem. I mean, most people who have had some challenges with credit, or maybe you're a business owner, starting your business and trying to keep that business going has exhausted available credit and so forth. So just because there's challenging credit, we don't want it to be a negative thing for people. Understand that those things happen. But the unique thing about you guys as service is how you identify and you hold the credit reporting agencies accountable.
Yes, we do. And what you said earlier is that just because a person has bad credit don't mean that they're bad people, but we've allowed the lending institutions to put us in that category. Everybody runs into financial difficulties. Our government runs into financial difficulties. Okay, so we're here, and if the government does it,
the threat of shutting down the government comes up every quarter. It seems
exactly.
Like.
So they're definitely participating in gross mismanagement of their operating expenses, etc. So the average family, with the way the economy is, should be expected to have bad credit for the average family, because the economy is so unstable that it's difficult to maintain any type of economic stability.
Okay.
And so when we have people enter our program, we make sure that they're aware that, look here, we're here to help you overcome these obstacles. You're not a bad person. We know that you ran into some type of financial difficulties, but what you don't know is that even though we have to follow the law, the credit reporting agencies have to follow the law as well, and they're not following the law.
So in making sure all of that happens, tell us what the first step is in the process that a person needs to understand when it comes to getting their credit reporting properly, because I think people misunderstand the fact that just because they may have been late, that may not necessarily be maybe the right accurate information on the credit report. So step number one, that you guys are involved with the client in getting their credit where it needs to be.
Okay, first of all, before I hit step number one, the credit reporting, people need to understand that the Fair Credit usage of the Fair Credit Reporting Act is the most effective. A lot of people out there filing bankruptcy when they have bad credit, entering into some type of consumer credit counseling programs or debt consolidation. I'm not saying that those don't work, but the most effective approach at the initial stages of the Fair Credit Reporting Act, because you can have the majority of this stuff removed off of the credit report by using the Fair Credit Reporting Act to go after this information. The Fair Credit Reporting Act was created in 1970 by Congress. And what it is, it tells the credit reporting agencies, which are just private companies, I want to make sure people understand that. They're private companies, so the credit reporting agencies are being monitored by the use of the Fair Credit Reporting Act. And we have to breathe life into it. If we don't, then nothing's going to happen. They're not going to enforce it because they can't make any money enforcing the Fair Credit Reporting Act. What they can make money doing is violating the Fair Credit Reporting Act. I like to tell people the best way to make money on Wall Street is insider trading, but they've outlawed that for us, the little people. So the first step in our 4-stage credit restoration assistance program is the usage of the Fair Credit Reporting Act. Full and open disclosure. You're going to get a copy of the disputes that we're going to administer. And if you're uncomfortable with anything, we can have some discussion on it. Okay, so the implementation of the Fair Credit Reporting Act with full and open disclosure, letting our clients know, look, this is the document that we're using. And why are we using it? Because the credit reporting agencies had violated every law out there on the Fair Credit Reporting Act, not just one or two, pretty much for the most part, 100% of those laws.
So basically what you're saying is that you take the law that's there to protect each and every one of us as consumers, and then you're going to prepare documents that are supported by the law, and then those are what are sent to the credit bureaus. Yeah. But me as the individual, I get to see that first, and the smart consumer would say, do you think?
Right.
But if I'm going to be nitpicky, or if I'm whatever feelings about certain things, then you guys would sit down and discuss that.
Right, and see, that's good, because a lot of times people don't understand the verbiage in the Fair Credit Reporting Act, because there's some simple verbiage in there, but it's kind of deceptive at the same time, and we're here to add clarity to it. Take, for instance, there's a law in there that says, I was never late, when you know in fact that you were late. But what the Fair Credit Reporting Act is really saying is, listen here, Mr. Credit Reporting Agency, the client was late, but when you receive the information from the lenders, you have to verify with the client. You don't know if all those lates have accrued honestly, or and maybe with a mishap or something with the lender putting an extra late payment on there. But the point is, since you haven't verified it, that's grounds for the entire list of late payments to be deleted off the credit report. So that's one example. But the Fair Credit Reporting Act is a document that has some very, I say this both spoken in legalese. It really will confuse the average person. That's why we like to give the disputes to the client so they can see it. Now, I had a pastor one time, and he, even though I explained it to him like I did just did to you, that we can use this particular verbiage of the Fair Credit Reporting Act, of this particular law to say it's not my account, I was never late. He didn't want to use that. I said, okay, that's fine. We'll just go on to the next law. But there's like about 96 pages of laws in the Fair Credit Reporting Act. So we have about an average, maybe I used to say 7 to 10, maybe it's about 10 to 20 laws per item on the credit report. So we just moved on to the next law. So it's good that the client gets the opportunity to see these disputes and make sure that we are using the Fair Credit Reporting Act.
And so that's a powerful thing to understand. And that's one of the things I like to make sure that people understand and take home, is that what they're saying is that there are laws that have been written to protect consumers in this country, no matter how you feel about what's going on. We're not here on a political debate or anything like that. It's just that they're going to use those laws that were designed to protect your privacy and your business to give you your rights back. Let's talk about step number 2. What's the next thing that you all will do for the client in that process of improving the credit?
Okay. Now, step number 2 is what we call the validation of debt service. Okay, and that's probably the most important aspect of our program and what distinguishes us from any traditional credit repair company out there. Okay, the validation of debt works in this way. With the Fair Credit Reporting Act, in step 1, we're removing the majority of the negative items off the credit report. We may not get 100%. I want to make sure people are clear on that. I tell people usually the average over the last 15, 16 years is about 75 to 85%. So if that's the case, if 75 to 85% of the negative information is being removed, whatever is being removed, let's say it was collection accounts. Now, collection accounts are a result of an account from an original creditor that has been charged off. It'll say profit and loss write-off or charge off on the credit report. Now, when it says that, what the consumer doesn't understand is they think they still owe the debt. We want to bring it to our clients' attention that the debt is no longer owed, but you cannot just ignore the debt if any third party comes after you for the debt. What we do in that case is issue what they call a validation of debt to the collectors. So remember, removing it off the credit report, and the collectors are going to continue to harass our clients for the debt. So what we do is we issue what they call a validation of debt to the collector. And so all the client has to do, all the consumer has to do, is to send us the letter to us that they received from the collector. And if the collector calls you haven't received the letter, then just demand the letter. Once you receive the letter, then you will send it to our office and we'll issue a validation of debt. What a validation of debt is going to do is, first of all, it's going to save most of our clients a lot of money, because most of the clients that come to us are trying to get back into the finance world. Okay.
Right.
And so they need money to do that. Even though you have good credit, sometimes you still need money to buy down those payments, et cetera. So instead of frivolously paying off collection accounts, which you don't owe, then we tell people, why not let's question them from a legal framework, a legal standpoint, and say, okay, I know that I did owe this debt at one time, but the original creditor charged the debt off. Now the original creditor,
which by default and definition, according to Black's Law Dictionary, charge off means dead, uncollectible,
right,
done. And the benefits to the original creditor are what?
The original creditor, it helps them because in other words, they become fiscally responsible for the debt if they don't charge the debt off, because if the consumer won't pay it, then they're going to become responsible. So what they have on these debts, these loans, is what you call insurance, or they get the advantage of a tax write-off. But whatever the case is, they're going to get rid of that debt and no longer pursue you, usually in the time frame of 90 to 180 days. And when that happens, I tell the consumers, our clients, you should jump up and shout hallelujah, because now it's dead. The debt's dead. And the original creditor, 9 times out of 10, will no longer pursue you for that debt because they've written it off. So
now let's make sure we understand, you're not promoting that people don't pay their debt.
Exactly.
It's just that, again, according to the laws of the land, when that original creditor does not pursue them any further and they charge it off and collect the insurance that makes them whole again, or gets the tax write-off, the debt is done.
Right.
Now, these other people that have purchased it are just doing it for their own benefit, from what I understand.
It's a lucrative industry. They're buying these debts for pennies on the dollar.
It's a big business. We're going to take a pause real quick. You're watching again. This is Eric Lamar, your host of The Entrepreneur's Voice. We're talking with William Crowley, and we're going over the 4 steps of improving your credit. Step number 1, one of the things that's very important is to understand the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act and Fair Credit Reporting Act, pardon me, and make sure that that's working in your behalf. That's step number 1 that they do for you. Step number 2 is issuing a validation of debt. Oftentimes, you may legally not owe a debt, so your assets are going to be taken from you if you pay that, or you can use your assets for the greater good for you and your family.
Right, right. And so when these debts go into the courts, they're going to enter default judgment if you don't come into court. So that's the thing, and it'll latch onto your assets, home, or any secured assets for the most part.
Right.
But so when you said that, now the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act and the Uniform Commercial Code, these are the 2 laws that we're using to go after these collection companies. I tell people, pay your debts if you owe them, okay? But if some type of financial misfortune or devastation occurs, then you do have recourse, okay? So let the debt, after 90 to 180 days of non-payment on your behalf, that debt is going to charge off. I guarantee you, it's going to charge off. And then the collectors are going to line up and try to come after you for the debt. Those you do not ignore. So I want to make sure that what you had said earlier, to reiterate, we're not encouraging people not to pay their debts. But if it does happen, here's the way out, okay? And that's when the debt goes to collections, the collector has no legal foot to stand on, okay? But it's up to you to bring it to their attention. And if you don't, then what you do is you acquiesce and you breathe life back into that debt it was originally a dead debt once it's charged off. And most people fall victim to that. I hate to use the word victim, but most people do fall victim to the collectors because they don't challenge them in the right way. Most people end up just paying the collector.
And that collector has just made a lot of money.
Wow.
So
pennies on the dollar they bought it.
Yeah. So if you buy $1,000 debt for 3 cents on the dollar, they buy it for $30 and go collect $500. They'll offer you 50% off. They just made $470 profit on their money.
And most people boast about that, brag about that as well. Oh yeah, I talked to collector down. No, you didn't. They bought the thing for pennies on the dollar. You didn't owe it anyway. Wow. That's part of the system that we live in. Let's jump into step number 3, and because we want to make sure that people have the opportunity. If you like what you're hearing and you see that this makes sense, there's a form. Feel free to fill out the form that's beneath the video. It's just basic information that you would like their company to contact you. You would like to get a process started to start getting these things implemented into your life. Matter of fact, they've got some specials on the pricing is listed right underneath the video. So if you want to take advantage of a 24-hour offer that expires midnight tomorrow, and if you want to take advantage of a 48-hour offer, please fill out the form, and then someone from their office will be in touch with you. Step number 3, tell us what that next step that a person needs to be thinking about. This is what we call the cease and desist, and that used to be step number 2. But with the implementation of what we call the validation of debt, it kind of has not nullified the usage of what we call a cease and desist, but it has lessened our usage of it. Okay, but we still offer the cease and desist in this framework. On validation of debts, remember, that's going to make the debt, for the most part, go away. It's going to stop the collector, not the debt go away, I'm sorry, because the debt's not real anyway, but it's going to make the collector go away. Now, a cease and desist is going to stop the collectors from trying to contact you regarding the debt. Now, it's kind of a confusing issue here, and let me just make sure we get clarity on it. When we want you to keep communication lines open with the collectors. We don't want you to discontinue communication with them because that's what gives them strength. They're hoping that you ignore them. So we issue a cease and desist letter to a third party. If the collectors are contacting your family, your friends, or people that you put on there as references, or calling your job, then issue a cease and desist to them. But in that cease and desist letter, we would encourage you to give them a number that they can contact. You want to let them know, I'm not trying to discontinue communication with you. So what we're going to do is, here's the number that I want you to contact me at, because we do want to resolve this issue. So a cease and desist will stop the collectors from contacting the third parties, whom really shouldn't be involved in the situation at all anyway, but sometimes we put the names on the applications with the original creditor, telling them of third party they can contact, family, friends, co-workers, etc. And collectors are notorious for calling your job and kind of embarrassing you there. So stop that, and then give them a number that they can contact you, so we can issue a validation of debt.
Perfect. So you want to make sure that you want to follow that step. Let's look at this fourth step and break that down for us and how that applies, and then we'll review these one more time and give you an opportunity to get the form filled out, and we'll address any questions. Again, if you have questions, below the video box and below the form, there's a comment form. Please ask your questions, and we'll make sure we get this on the recording. And if you want to come back and review this again, you're welcome to do so.
So that fourth step is what we call the Federal Trade Commission follow-up letter, or the FTC letter. That's the acronym. Federal Trade Commission follow-up letter. And we encourage people to go and look at, we tell you where we're getting our information from. We encourage you to go review that. And at the website that I just mentioned, well, the website is located at ftc.gov, the Federal Trade Commission website. That's where you will find the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act and the Fair Credit Reporting Act. What we use the Federal Trade Commission for is to enforce our documentation that we're sending to the credit reporting agencies. So for instance, 1681I of the Fair Credit Reporting Act demands that the credit reporting agency responds to any grievance or dispute that you give them, that you issue to them, and it gives them a time frame of around 30 business days. We just tell people 45 days. If they don't respond within that given time frame, then they violated 1681I of the Fair Credit Reporting Act. Therefore, now we're going to have this enforced with the Federal Trade Commission. That's the watchdog of the industry. We're going to send a letter to them, what's called an FCC follow-up letter, and let them know I've sent document reporting agency, and I haven't heard back from them in a given time frame. Now, ideally, what is supposed to happen here is once the Federal Trade Commission gets involved and they spank the hand of the credit reporting agency, they're going to say, now you have to remove, because you defaulted, so now you have to remove everything that is that the client disputed. So a lot of times, I tell people, well, don't get worried if you don't hear from them, because there may be some type of recourse where we can have everything removed without any further investigation by issuing this Federal Trade Commission follow-up letter. That happens some of the time, but what the Federal Trade Commission has capitulated to a certain degree, because they do work with these corporations. So sometimes they'll give the credit reporting agency the benefit of the doubt and say, okay, if you may have been an oversight on your behalf, we know you violated 1681I, but if you can get this documentation to the client ASAP, then we'll overlook it. So it's happened both ways for us, okay?
Again, understanding that there are rights that you have, it's your choice whether you want to invoke these rights, because really your assets can be protected. The laws in this country, as these laid out, can protect you. So there's 4 steps. You want to make sure, just number 1 step.
Fair Credit Reporting Act.
Use the Fair Credit Reporting Act to your advantage. The law was written to protect you, the consumer. Number 2?
Number 2 is the validation of debt, and we utilize that through the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act and the Uniform Commercial Code.
You may not owe it. Make sure it's valid, verified. Number 3.
Number 3 would be the cease and desist. I got a little confused myself. That's the
okay.
Cease and desist letter, C&D.
I'm sure your team has it all spelled out. They know what to do. I'm telling you, folks, you're in great hands. I've heard nothing but fantastic results. Number 4.
Number 4 would be the Federal Trade Commission follow-up letter.
So when you put these steps into place, again, you can do this, and you can spend a lot of time trying to study the law and so forth, or you can just use experts that this is what they do. I tend to say, let experts do what they do, because why try to be an expert in something that you're not? So this is what they do. Take advantage of the offer and the specials for those that are listening to the Entrepreneur's Voice show, and really take back your life. why spend all that extra money just because a credit score is 100 or 200 points short of what the creditor or the insurance company or whoever wants it to be, and then they can just charge you more. Then, if I had a 500 score and William has a 720 score, doesn't mean that we're different people. I mean, this just things happen. So get your life, get your score back where it's supposed to be, and take advantage of the things that you deserve in life. Any final thoughts that you want to share with us?
Yeah, two things. One is that, remember, what makes us so unique as well with the expansion or the expanded service that we provide in this so-called credit repair program, renaming it credit restoration assistance, is the price. I mean, the prices, you won't find anybody in the country that's going to give you these type of services for those prices. I mean, he's even beat me up because of the prices are so low.
I mean, I love all you, my viewers and so forth, but I'm like, man, how do you eat?
Yeah,
Doing it for this price. But
because
I guess
we want volume. We want volume. That's what we want.
they were
And
both.
we do good. Also,
And again, you know, when you do this the right way, and this is where folks like William and his team is coming from, they have the right heart. And those are the kind of people that you have on your side. So they're not just looking at you as a number. They want to make sure that you get the results. And this program, you work with people for how long?
oh, we're with you for 12 months.
12 months.
So it breaks down for that price, divide that price into 12 months and see how much you're paying us.
$350
Four steps.
basically.
For 4 steps, not
Yeah.
just one.
I mean, it's pennies a day to get your credit right and so forth.
And then the free credit report, free credit reports. Make sure that everybody goes out there and gets the free credit report, whether you're going through this service or not. Go to the website and get your free credit report. Okay, and that's in all states except for Georgia. Georgia, you can do it twice a year, and all other states you can do it once a year.
And that website again to get that free report.
There's a number of websites that we use. We use creditchecktotal.com. We'll use Credit Karma, or we'll use Annual Credit Report.
And you creditreport.com, get that. Take advantage of the $350, including the validation of debt for 12 months and first 48 hours. If you choose to, come on board with this, $450, including the validation of debt. Think about how much money you're spending in extra fees because credit challenges. You could wind up saving yourself a lot of money by making a smart investment. William, thank you for coming on to the show and being a great guest and co-host today on the show. We really appreciate it. This is something that's very passionate to me. In times past, I was a victim of these types of things. And again, we never want to talk in the terms of victims and so forth, but just didn't have the knowledge and the education. So once I learned and came out of the situation, we want everybody else to understand.
Exactly. And come out of that situation too.
Yeah, and stay out of it. So I want to thank you for tuning in tonight. Please share this video with others. At the top, there's a share button. Click on it, share it out with others. And someone that you love, they're wanting to get things going in a business or whatever, or just need to save money. Don't keep spending extra money you don't have to. Again, I'm Eric Lamar, your host of the Entrepreneur's Voice Show. Thank you for tuning in tonight, and we'll see you at another episode.